I think we're just going to begin then. That's not...
Možemo da počnemo. Je li dovoljno glasno ili treba glasnije da se priča?
Is it loud enough, Ted? Is it all right?
I mean, I wish it was loud, like loud with the. I wish it was louder. Like.
Kaže, bilo draže ako je moguće malo glasnije, ali ne bite od.
It was clear.
Oni sa svoje strane. Ted, so you're ready. They're ready to begin.
Okay, let me get my.
Ja već vičem, čuju me komšije.
Dobro. On će sad samo da pokupi svoje slušalice i to je to.
Okay.
Berry said that he's so loud that his neighbors can hear him.
Oh, okay.
A u tebe mikrofon gdje su?
Are you ready, Ted? So I can...
Let me start. Let me connect to the.
Ti govoriš i sюда i сюда.
Let me start recording. So.
Sad će Ted da počne svoje snimanje i evo samo što.
So.
Čak onda ako radi ovaj mikrofon, jer sad bolje čujem.
Are you hearing it better? Kod mene je bolje.
Da, okej.
Kaže bolje, potvrdio je bolje, kaže, evo.
Važi. Samo da ja smanjim stolicu.
He's gonna just lower his chair.
Okay. Let me turn off my phone here.
Mi smo gotovi, možemo početi.
They're ready. They can begin.
Okay, let me record.
Evo sad vam počinje snimanje, samo što nije.
Važi.
Когда работает очень много оборудования, это...
Zato bilo prošće просто один телефон и проблема никогда не.
Let me get the OBS here. Start recording. All right. Let's see. I'm going to manage the broadcast.
On sad to sve postavlja sa svoje strane.
Ok, i mi još nismo sve postavili sa svoje strane.
They're setting up, and things are there, and so it's all good.
Okay. All right, we're going to go live.
By the way, you didn't hear me. Berrić is acquainted with your father. He's well aware of it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he didn't know that you were related.
Da, to je bila dosta izvesna istorija.
He said that it was a pretty famous story, your father.
Wow, can you tell? So you know about my father, so can you tell me more about that? That's fascinating.
Kaže, znači ako znate za mog oca, biste bi rekli...
I didn't know.
Nije znao.
Izvini, pričate dvoje i onda ja ne razumem.
Ja se to ide brzam, pardon. Kaže, nije znao da znate za njegovog oca i
Pa vidi, to je bila...
Čuo tome kako se saznaje s njega i to.
To je bila dosta izvesna istorija. Ja mislim da svi znaju koji su pratili situaciju u Americi po ljudskim pravima.
It was a very famous story, your father, and everybody who was tracking the human rights stories in America is pretty much very well aware of your father.
Oh, okay. Does he know about the story of like how my dad was Muslim and?
Da li znate celu priču kako je njegov otac bio musliman, pa je onda preobratio se u hrišćanstvo i to?
To je bio mali Mahatma Gandhi.
He says it was a small Mahatma Gandhi, your father.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, my father is very pro-Russia.
Njegov otac je prilično pro-ruski ovako nastrojen.
Radi?
Da, работаем.
Efir ide?
Da.
Sve, mi smo se podključili.
They're completely ready. They're tuned in.
All right, I'm live streaming right now, so we're good.
All right. On je isto započeo, tako da je s njegove strane sve krenulo.
Sve, možemo da počnemo. У нас работает?
Если мы секунду подойдем, то заработает наверняка. Я просто жду, пока оно отвиснет, но оно уже по логике эфир идет. Я просто не могу обновить страницу, она подвисает.
Krećemo.
We're on, we're set, we can be. Znači možemo da krenemo, sam dobro čuo.
Kod nas malo koči ovdje, ali ajde da krenemo pa ćemo onda uzeti vaš...
So they're having technical issues, so it's lagging a little bit, but they can commence.
All right, yeah, it's fine. There's people on the live stream already. So let me ask you first question. For one, I love the movie that they did about you, Sniper Story, and I've been trying to get an interview with you pretty much ever since I saw the movie. I thought it was really well done.
Vidio sam film o vama već snajpera i od tada već odavno želi da razgovara s vama, da se intervjuš po tom pitanju.
Važno je želeti, želje se ispunjavaju.
It's important to wish for things, but because wishes come true.
I really liked I really liked how you acted in that movie. Not acted, but I really liked how you conducted yourself and the way that you were like even in the middle of the battlefield in Donbass, you still remained like super calm. And that's the thing that really got me interested in talking to you.
Njega je oduševilo kako ste vi glumili u tom dokumentarcu, onda se ispravio, niste baš glumili, nego kako se držali. Vaše držanje njega je potpuno oduševilo i od tada ima veliku želju da porazgovara s vama i to mu je izuzetno interesantno.
Znate kako je snima taj film? Olja je prvo bila na ukrajinskoj teritoriji, pa je zatim došla na našu teritoriju u principu sa željom da nađe rusku vojsku koja tamo nije bila.
So the film happened because Olja was in the Ukrainian territory, but eventually she wanted to go to their territory, as in the Donbass territory, and to see how things look from over there.
But how do you remain so calm? Because in the film you were just calm all the time, like even after you got shot, you just stay calm consistently, and that's what interested me so much. How do you like what is the secret? How do you remain so calm in such an intense environment?
Kako ostajete mirni? Tokom samog filma bili ste potpuno mirni i kaže, čak i mirni kada pucaju po vama i sve toga. Postoji li ikakva tajna u svemu tome?
Ja se nikad ne nerviram.
I never get angry.
How do you not get angry? How is that possible?
Kako se nervirate? Kako je to uopšte moguće?
Pa ne pojma.
I have no clue.
No clue. Okay. We'll never know the secret.
Znači, nema tu nikakve tajne kako se nerviraš. Još dok sam bio mali shvatio sam da s nerviranjem ništa se ne mijenja. Sve se treba probati rešiti razgovorom. Ako se ne uspeva rešiti razgovorom, onda ili bolje skloniti se od problema, ili ako već ne možeš da se skloniš, onda tuci koliko god možeš i sve snage. I što bi rekao Putin, udaraj prvi.
Ever since he was a kid, he knew that there was just no use to getting angry and nervous about things, and he realized early on that everything should be resolved by talking, and if you can't resolve by talking, then just get away from the problem as far as possible. If not, then just give it your best shot.
Ako znate za Aleksandra Zaharčenka, na primjer, on dugo nije mogao, 3 godine otprilike nije mogao da me shvati nikako. I tek kad je snimljen film Rat snajpera i kad je pročitao knjigu koju sam ja napisao, sreli smo se u kafiću gdje je posle toga i poginuo i kaže, ja mislim da te sad tek malo shvata. I kaže, pa kako se ne nerviraš? Pa nemam pojma.
Alexander Zaharchenko wanted to understand me, but he just wasn't able to, and he was trying to get him for 3 years. He couldn't. Then they finally met in a coffee shop, and right before Alexander Zaharchenko died. And when they met, eventually met, he finally told him, "Now I'm not gonna think I'm finally trying to get you, starting to get you the way why you're not getting angry."
I just find so this began at a young age that you learned how to remain calm.
Znači, to je počelo u vašim ranim godinama, to kako ste naučili da jednostavno budete mirni.
Pa da, još dok sam bio u osnovnoj školi imao sam neki problem sa učiteljima i video sam da se ne isplati s njima svađati se i počeo jednostavno razmišljam. Rano sam se dokupao nekih knjiga čitati koje nisam razumeo po pitanju filozofije, po gluposti neke, uglavnom ja mislim da je to sve uticalo na to. No i verovatno je po rođenju tako, Bog te pita to.
So he started in elementary school. He had a thing with a teacher, and which is when he realized that there's no use to confronting people. And he did read some books on philosophy and various books, and he didn't get any of it. And he also, but it could be just inherited. God knows.
I see. So let me ask you questions that I had ready for you, and then we can segue off into other things. So basically, you've been fighting in Donbass since the beginning of the conflict.
Evo da počnemo onda sa pitanjima koje, pa ćemo onda lako odemo da nam odgovara. Znači, vi ste u borbi u Donbasu od samog početka.
Još iz Sevastopolja.
Right from Sevastopol.
Why did you join the conflict in Ukraine, in Donbass?
Zašto ste se priključili borbi u Donbasu u Ukrajini?
Kad je bio kod nas rat, znači kad je bila kod nas prvo kad je bio građanski rat 90. godina, zatim i 99. godine, kod nas su dolazili Rusi, znači ne pričamo o armiji, pričamo o dobrovoljcima.
Well, when there was a war among us in the 1990s and in 1999, there were some Russian volunteers coming to us.
Mm-hmm.
I kad je počelo sve to, Majdan kad je počeo, kad je već bilo izvesno da će u Sevastopolj da krenu nacistički bataljoni, ljudi s kojima sam ja bio ranije upoznat, s kojima sam bio zajedno kod nas u ratu, njih dvojica su me pozvali da dođem u Sevastopolj.
So when everything began, when Maidan began, it became very certain that they're going to go for Sevastopol. The Nazi battalions will go for Sevastopol. So the men who I'm known myself have called me.
I zatim kad je sve krenulo na Ukrajini, pošto je od Majdana bilo izvesno da će početi na Donbasu, rekli su da jedno 3 meseca na Donbas, za 3 meseca će sve to završiti. Ukrajina nije takva da će da puca po svojim građanima. Međutim, greška je bila jer Ukrajinci su odmah podigli avione, počeli su prvo avionima da tuku po svojim građanima, tako da tih 3 meseca još uvek traje.
So when everything started happening in Ukraine, they said that there's going to be just 3 months for Donbass and it's going to be over quick. And they said that Ukraine is not like that they're not going to kill their own citizens. But that was a mistake. They just they mustered their planes, and they were hitting their own people.
So you joined because you heard about civilians being targeted by the bombings.
Znači vi ste priključili ratu jer ste čuli da su civili gađani.
Ne, mi smo već tamo došli. Znači ja i drugi dobrovoljci, mi smo već došli na Donbas kad je rat počeo. Znači, to je isto građanski rat. Znači, na jednoj strani su bili proruski ljudi, na drugoj strani su bili prozapadni. Znači, pričamo o ljudima sa Majdanom. Moramo da znamo prvo šta je Majdan da bi mogli dalje da pričamo o tome. To je bio državni udar.
So, no, I was already there. Me and other volunteers in Donbass were there in Donbass when the war started. It's also a civil war. On one end, you had the pro-Russian people, and on the other hand, you had the pro-Western people. We're talking about people from Maidan, so that we know what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm. Now, a question that I like to ask people when I interview them for these types of things is, what was the most disturbing thing that they saw? And the reason why I ask this is because I want to get the message very quickly to the minds of Americans so they can understand how serious this situation is. So, if you don't mind me asking, when you were fighting in Donbass before the special operation, what was the most disturbing thing that you ever saw?
Pitanje koje volim da postavljam inače u intervjuima jer bitno mi je jer hoću da prenesem poruku brzo umovima Amerikanaca da bi shvatili koliko je ozbiljna situacija. Ako vam ne smeta, šta je najgroznija stvar koju ste videli?
Znate kako, ja sam ih navikao na svašta. Najužasnije je uvek kada vidiš da ginu deca. Znači, od toga nema ništa gore.
Already used to everything, seeing a lot of things, all the things, but the most terrible thing is always seeing the kids die. There's nothing more horrible than that.
Video sam mnogo iživljavanja njihovih nad našim vojnicima, međutim, čim uzmeš oružje u ruke, ti možeš da očekuješ da će se sa tobom desiti svašta. Znači, možeš ostati invalid, možeš poginuti, mogu da te zarobe, mogu da se iživljavaju na tobom, ali to je vojnik i vojnik svaki koji je otišao u rat, on je spreman za to. Međutim, deca, ona su tu ni kriva ni dužna, a Ukrajinci su ih ubijali stotina.
I've seen a lot of torture. A lot of them torture our soldiers. As soon as you pick up arms, you can expect just about anything to happen to you. They can kill you, they can maim you, they can wound you. But that's being a soldier. But the kids are innocent, and Ukrainians have killed hundreds of kids.
Now, people in the Western media, they laugh at the fact that they laugh at when Putin talked about denazification and that Ukraine has a Nazi problem or a far-right problem. People in the Western media mocked this. Go ahead.
Ljudi u zapadnim medijima se smeju tome kada Putin priča o denifikaciji, da Ukrajina ima nacistički problem sa desničarima.
Can you tell us about the Nazi problem in Ukraine and how bad is it?
Možete nam reći o problemu sa nacizmom u Ukrajini i koliko je to sve loše postalo?
Pa u Ukrajini nema problema sa nacizmom.
Ukraine doesn't have a problem with Nazism.
Kod njih je to državna ideologija, tako da ako je nešto državna ideologija, sa tim ne može da bude problema.
This is a state ideology over there, so if that's a state ideology, there can't be a problem with it.
Ako obratite pažnju, možete da vidite da je i bivši predsjednik Porošenko i sadašnji predsjednik Zelenski, da njihovo obezbeđenje nosi ambleme nacističke Nemačke.
If you take notice of the ex-president Poroshenko and the current president Zelensky, you will notice that their security has literal Nazi emblems.
Zatim na teritoriji Ukrajine fudbalski stadioni, ulice, trgovi, svi oni dobijaju imena ljudi koji su osuđeni u Nürnberškom procesu za saradnju sa nacističkom Nemačkom. Znači tamo problema nema sa nacizmom, to je državna ideologija, tamo sve to funkcioniše uspešno.
Then on the territory of Ukraine, there are football stadiums being named after people convicted in the Nuremberg processes. So there's no actual because it's there.
Well, by problem, I mean a presence, right? There's a strong Nazi presence. That's what I mean by problem.
Kad kažem problem, mislim na prisustvo.
Pa tamo je, to je državna ideologija, tamo su, većinom su svi nacisti, tako. Na primjer, mi smo zauzimali određene bataljone i tamo su kod njih nacističke zastave, čak imaju oltare gdje su žrtvovali ljude, tamo stvarno je nenormalno sa tim. I mogli ste da vidite, svako ko je hteo da vidi, mogao je da vidi kad su zarobljeni u Azovu, koliko su imali tetovaža sa Hitlerom, sa svastikom, sa svim tim nacističkim simbolima.
So it's a state ideology. For instance, we have taken over certain battalions, and they have Nazi flags. They have altars on which they sacrifice people, and everybody that was there, seeing them being overcome, have seen how many emblems and Nazi insignias and Nazi tattoos the Azov battalion had.
I Evropa i svet znaju o tome, pa zato što tamo kažu došli su na Ukrajinu plaćenici iz Evrope i sveta. Dobar deo njih nisu plaćenici, oni su došli i ratuju zato što veruju u nacizam. Znači, to i oni zvanično o tome govore. Znači, nacisti iz Poljske, iz Nemačke, iz Švedske, iz Amerike, iz Rusije, ima nacista koji su otišli na tu stranu. Tako da, čisto se vidi ko je tu nacista u toj priči.
The whole world world actually knows about this. They say that they've come to Ukraine as mercenaries, as foreign mercenaries, but they're not mercenaries. They've come there because they believe in Nazism. There are publicly known Nazis who have come from Poland, Germany, Sweden, America, and Russia, and this is how you know who the Nazi is.
Okay. I heard human sacrifices, so I'm wondering if you could elaborate more on that.
Čuvanje žrtvovanje ljudi, možete da malo više kažete o tome?
Ja nisam video svojim očima žrtvovanje, međutim kad smo zauzimali neke teritorije sada, kad je počela specijalna vojna operacija, našli smo oltare sa krvi i mi smo snimali taj materijal, imali smo svoje GoPro kamere i to je objavljeno, ima na internetu, može da se vidi.
With my own eyes, but when we have taken certain territories, when the special military operation began, we have found altars with blood. We have taken shots of this with our GoPro cameras, and it has all been published, those recordings.
Okay, this is new to me. I find this to be very disturbing.
Da, na Ukrajini postoje bataljoni Donbas 1 i Donbas 2. Mi smo ih rasturili u potpunosti i kad smo mislili da ćemo tamo naći neke velike trofeje, našli smo gomilu gumenih tamo pomagala i plastičnih za pedere. Tako da su Donbas 1 i Donbas 2 pravi pederski bataljoni bili.
When we have taken Ukrainian positions like Donbas 1 and Donbas 2, we have beaten them, and when we beaten them, we found these altars, and we have found all kinds of things, including rubber tools for certain things, and we started calling them the faggot battalions.
Oh, I know what he's talking about. Yeah, I've heard about this before.
Ja, čuo sam za to i ranije.
I saw the video from 2015 of members of the Azov battalion crucifying a man. And what disturbed me was how Western media was saying that it was fake.
Video sam 2015. godine onaj video snimak u kome su pripadnici Azov bataljona razapinjili nekog čoveka. I veoma me uznemirilo to kako su zapadni mediji odmah rekli da je to sve lažni snimak.
A šta, ja treba da odgovorim nešto na to? Ja te ne čujem.
Video sam 2015. godine snimak na kom su članovi Azov bataljona bili razapeli čoveka i vrlo me uznemirilo to kako su zapadni mediji odmah rekli da je to lažan snimak.
Znaš kako, zapadni mediji ne mogu da kažu da je to istina, zato kako će onda da opravdaju sav novac i to kako pomažu Ukrajini. Evo na početku ove specijalne vojne operacije sami Ukrajinci snimaju, ne znam da li ste vidjeli to, na primjer jednog ruskog vojnika su zarobili, vezali su ga za stepenice, izboli su ga nožem nekoliko puta i zatim su mu taj nož zabili u oko i sami to objavljuju. Tako da njihovo izdevateljstvo nad ljudima je sasvim očevidno za one koji hoće da vide, ali Zapad to ne sme da prizna, kao što ne sme da prizna da je tamo nacizam koji je očevidan.
Media cannot say it out loud and cannot say that that's the truth. How else are they going to just explain all the money and help for Ukraine and support? But they are recording all of this themselves. They've captured. There's a video of the captured Russian soldier, and the Ukrainians themselves have published this. It's a video in which they keep stabbing him with a knife, and then they stab him in the eye. And so this is actually very obvious what they're doing. But the West just cannot admit it, that it's there, that's obvious, and it's obvious for anybody to see, and it's obvious that there's Nazis over there.
I also saw a video of Ukrainian soldiers burying a man alive, and the Western, I looked into this in the Western media, and they were also saying that it was fake. So it seems like everything is fake, and Ukrainians can do no wrong.
Video u kojem ukrajinski vojnici iz nekog čoveka zakopavaju živog. I zapadni mediji su odmah rekli da to sve lažu, da je sve lažno što Ukrajinci uradi.
Svako veruje ono što želi da veruje.
Everybody believes in what they wish to be true.
Ili u šta mora da veruje.
Or what they have to be to believe that it's true.
Now let me ask you, in the Western media, they like to always say, well, yes, Ukraine does have some Nazis, but Russia has Nazis also. And what is your response to that?
U zapadnim medijima vole da kažu da Ukrajina ima problema sa nacistima, ali i Rusija također ima problem sa nacistima. Koji bi bio vaš odgovor na to?
Pa vidite, u Rusiji je također ima tih koji vole nacizam i oni su trenutno nalaze u tim nacističkim bataljonima na strani Ukrajine. Oni su otišli još 2014. godine na teritoriju Ukrajine i ratuju protiv nas.
Russia too has people that love Nazism, and they're fighting on the Ukrainian side of things. They've gone over there all the way in 2014.
I to ovdje niko ne krije. Ovdje ako nađu naciste, njih hapse, a na Ukrajini naciste veličaju, od njih prave heroje. To je velika razlika.
Nobody is hiding this. When the Russians find Nazis, they're arrested, but in Ukraine, they just glorify them, and that's the main difference.
I also heard that there are Chechen mujahideen who are fighting for Ukraine as well.
Mujahidini koji se bore na strani Ukrajine također.
A njih je bilo jako malo. To je bila jedna mala grupa u naselju Širokino 2014. i 2015. godine. Jako mala grupa i ona je brzo uništena. Tako da posle toga ih i nije bilo nešto. Bili su Čečeni, znači ti koji su od Dudajeva koji su bili, međutim posle borbenih dejstava počeli su da trguju drogom, a trgovina droga je dozvoljena samo pripadnicima SBU, tako da su ih Ukrajinci poubijali jako brzo.
There were really a few of them. There was a small group led by Shirokin in 2014 and 2015, a very, very small group, but it was quickly destroyed. Afterward, there wasn't any of them. There were Chechens from Dadaev who were over there, but after the fighting, they started selling drugs, doing drug trafficking, but only the security forces of Ukraine are allowed to do this, so they got all destroyed.
Another argument that I hear is that Wagner is fighting in Ukraine, and Wagner has Nazis. So therefore, you can't make this argument that Ukraine has a Nazi problem. Does he have a response to that one?
Argument koji ja čujem je da Wagner u Ukrajini se bori na strani Donbasa i da on također ima naciste, tako da ne može da se kaže da Ukrajina ima problem sa nacistima. Imate li neki odgovor za to?
Znate kako, Wagner je najefektivnija jedinica koja se nalazi na frontu trenutno i naravno da će Zapad koji ne zna kako drugačije s njima da se bori, da kažu da su oni nacisti. Oni sve nas nazivaju nacistima, tako da to je najdisciplinovanija podrazdeljenje i najefektivnije na frontu. Naravno da ga Zapad mrzi.
Wagner Group is the most effective unit on the war front presently, and of course that the West doesn't simply know how to counter this, so they keep calling them Nazis. It is the most disciplined unit in the war, so of course they're going to say that.
Znate kako je najvažnije opredeliti se šta je to nacizam. Da li nacizam takav kakav on jeste u izvornom obliku ili nacistima možete nazvati svakoga ko vam je protivnik.
The most important thing is to make up one's mind on what the Nazis are. Is it the Nazism in its original form, or is it just something that you can just make up and pin it on whoever you dislike and don't like?
Okay. Now, let me ask you another question from the list here. Now, if I remember correctly, you went to the war in Donbass when it began, and then eventually you left, but you returned back to the conflict when Russia did the special operation in February of 2022, why did you return back to Ukraine in 2022 to fight?
Što vidjeli ste u početku, ste vi bili se priključili još 2014. godine i onda ste otišli u neko vreme i onda ste se vratili kada je počela specijalna vojna operacija. Zašto ste se vratili?
Ja sam otišao u avgustu 2018. godine, imao sam teško ranjenje, 1,5 dana sam se lečio.
I departed in August of 2018. I was heavily wounded, so I fled for a year and a half to mend from the wounds.
Zatim 2020. 2021. godina, kad su bili problemi sa snajperima profesionalcima koji su dolazili na ukrajinsku stranu, ja sam odlazio na 2 nedelje, 3 nedelje, tamo mjesec dana, koliko je trebalo da je nađem i uništim i zatim se vraćao kući. Nisam bio, da kažemo tako, deo vojske, nego kao, kako su tamo govorili, pojedinačni lovac.
Also, I was in 2020 and 2021, when there were problems with professional snipers on the Ukrainian side. I've come back to the war front. I would come back for 2 or 3 weeks or even a month, and then I would just destroy them, and then I would go back. I wasn't a part of the army as much as I was a solo.
A zatim, krajem 2021. godine, kad je Ukrajina počela da gomila velike snage na granici sa Donbasom, većina nas koji smo bili tamo dobrovoljci ili koji su bili u armiji ljudi pa su otišli, krenuli smo da se vraćamo nazad i da provodimo obuku sa momcima jer smo očekivali napad Ukrajine. Ona je gomilala ogromne snage, tako da smo mi negde u novembru 2021. se počeli skupljati i očekivati napad sa Ukrajine. Jednostavno opet nismo očekivali da će Rusija da uđe u rat, nego da ćemo svojim silama morati da izustavljamo.
So by the end of the 2021, when there was a huge amount of forces being mustered for Ukraine on the Ukrainian side, the most of us that were there as volunteers have been recalled. There was an expectation, and we've assembled to train the new troops. There was an expectation that Russia will not engage once again, and we're expecting that we'll have to carry the brunt of the fighting ourselves.
In this particular conflict in 2022, what has the fighting been like for you?
U ovom konkretnom sukobu 2022. godine, kakva je sama bila borba za vas lično?
Je ga rat ko rat.
Okay, the war like any war.
Like any war. In this particular conflict in 2022, in your experience, what has been the most horrible thing that you have seen, the most disturbing thing that you have seen?
U ovom sukobu 2022. godine, u vašem ličnom iskustvu, šta je bila najgroznija stvar koju ste imali priliku da vidite?
Pa ne, najgroznija stvar je bila, našli smo momke iz Sobra. Dobro, ja ne znam kako to da prevedeš tamo, to je kao neka nacionalna gvardija kod njih, koji su bili vezani za ograde. Tamo je bila tako manja grupa ljudi i njima su izvađene oči naživo. Naživo su im vadili oči, to znamo zato što je krv im se lila niz lice. Jer kad je čovjek mrtav, krv ne teče. I to, ne mogu da kažem da me to šokiralo, svega sam se nagledao u svom životu, ali to je bilo u tom nečem najstrašnije, da kažemo, što sam video u tom periodu.
That I've seen were some young men from Sobra, which is a national guard, that were tied to a fence. It was a small group of young men, and they had their eyes plucked out, and it was done live, so to say. So we know this because they were bleeding from their eye holes, and when a man is dead, there's no bleeding. So that I can't say that I've seen. I can't say that this shocked me, but it was the most horrendous thing that I've seen this year.
Now, in the Western media, when they talk about the war, they love to talk about how Ukraine is retaking territory in Kherson and Kharkiv, how they have retaken Kherson, and they act or they talk as if Russia is just losing the war. But from your experience, give us the reality of the war. Who's really winning this war? Who's really winning this conflict?
Medijima kad pričaju o ratu vole da kažu kako je Ukrajina preuzela teritoriju Hersonu i Harkovu i kako su preoteli sve i pričaju kao da Rusija jednostavno gubi rat. Iz vašeg iskustva, dajte nam stvarnost. Ko stvarno pobeđuje?
Vidite, stvarno pobeđuje onaj ko gubi manje vojnika i ko gubi manje tehnike. Znači, to je u svakom ratu tako. Teritorija se dobija, oduzima, znači osvajate, gubite. Pitanje je kad gubite teritoriju koliko gubite vojnika i tehnike. Znači, prevedi to pa će onda još.
The one who's winning is the one who's losing fewer men and vehicles and equipment. You gain territory, you lose it, you gain it and lose it again to and fro. But the issue is when you're losing territory, how many troops and military equipment are you actually losing?
Jesmo na vezi?
Da.
Aha. I znači mi gubimo sad bar 30 puta manje vojnika nego što ih gubi Ukrajina. I pitanje, to je iscrpljujući rat. Naprimjer, u aprilu mjesecu Ukrajina je već počela da pregovara u vezi kapitulacije zato što im je nedostajalo tehnike.
At least 30 times fewer men than Ukraine is, so it's a war of attrition. They've already been having peace talks in April this year.
Zatim su i Amerikanci počeli dovoziti jako mnogo tehnike, nisu im dali da završe pregovore. Zatim su zašli u tupik negdje u avgustu mjesecu kad više nisu imali dovoljno ljudi za neke ozbiljne akcije. Posle toga su već počeli masovno da dolaze stranci na teritoriju Ukrajine, znači ne dobrovoljci nego plaćenici.
Then the Americans started bringing in a lot of equipment. They prevented the peace talks from happening. And when they didn't have enough manpower to continue military operations, then there was a massive influx of mercenaries.
Rat dobija onaj ko zna, znači sem toga što se tiče gubitaka i ko zna zašta vodi taj rat. Znači stranci koji su došli na teritoriju Ukrajine, oni su došli tamo zbog novca. Evo, Poljake su pokušali da gurnu na hersonsko napravljenje, tamo su ogromni gubici kod Ukrajinaca. Oni nisu htjeli da ratuju, krenuli su nazad, pucali su na Ukrajince i tamo izbio pravi rat između njih. Od nas nema toga, znači ili ideš napred ili ideš nazad, ali poštuješ naređenje.
War is won by those who know what they're fighting for, among the losses themselves to factor. There were foreigners who came for money. The Polish have attempted to advance in the Kherson direction, but there was an attempt to push the Polish towards on that direction, and they had huge losses. They didn't want to fight. They started going back. They started shooting at the Ukrainians, and there was a whole civil war about it. But we don't have that kind of a problem. You either go forward or backward, but you know what you're fighting for.
I Rusija će sigurno pobediti u ovom ratu. Da je Rusija ušla u rat 2014 ili 2015, ona bi ga izgubila.
Russia will be certain to win this war. If Russia entered this war in 2014 or 2015, it would have lost the war.
Zato što nije bila pripremljena, ni ekonomski, ni produvoljcija, znači hrana, i kad su već shvatili da će to sve da krene u jedan veliki ozbiljni rat, ruska vlada je napravila pravilan potez zato što je počela da finansira seljska hajzjajstva, kako se to kaže na srpskom. Uglavnom prave hranu, povećali su proizvodnju raketa, tako da svi oni koji misle da će se kod Rusije završiti rakete grdno se varaju. Ima mnogo veš mašina iz kojih mogu da vade čipove.
Because it wasn't prepared economically, logistically, with food, when they realized that they're gonna have to fight a war, the Russian government made a right move. They've started financing farming homesteads, and they've increased their missile production quite a lot, and so they have plenty of washing machines to use for those missiles.
To ja šalim se zato što je britanska tamo koja je već premijerka rekla da Rusija vadi čipove iz veš mašina da bi pravila rakete.
I'm just jesting because the British Prime Minister or somebody said that they're just using washing machines, microchips for missiles.
Yeah.
I ovdje isto ima ljudi koji se boji, koji begaju. Na primjer, od početka specijalne vojne operacije, po nekim podacima s teritorije Rusije oko 500.000 ljudi pobeglo u inostranstvo. Jednostavno se boje da odu u rat, neki ne veruju to, ali gledajte, 500.000 ljudi na državu koja ima 140 miliona, to je manje od statističke greške.
There are also some people who are running away. At the beginning of the special military operation, according to some statistics, there's about 500,000 men who have fled abroad. Some are just afraid to go to war. Some don't believe in it. But 500,000 people for a country with 140 million people is less than a statistical error.
Right. Now, in the Western media, they are now saying that Russia has lost 100,000 soldiers. I have difficulty believing this because it sounds like World War II tier casualties. But what do you say to this, that Russia has lost 100,000 soldiers so far?
Zapadni medijima kažu da je Rusija izgubila oko 100.000 ljudi. Meni je to teško da poverujem. Zvuči kao neki ubici iz Drugog svjetskog rata. Šta vi kažete na to?
100.000 ljudi ubijenim ili ranjenim?
You're talking about the wounded or the killed?
They're saying 100,000 killed.
100.000 ubijenih.
Ne, to smešno. Najveći gubici su bili na početku rata i to iz jednog prostog razloga što su neki ruski oficiri jako nepravilno shvatili taj rat i krenuli su onako kako nije trebalo. I ti gubici su bili onako solidni, ali kakvi 100.000, to je smešna priča. Ali ranjenih je mnogo, ja mislim da zajedno ranjeni i ubijeni možda ima oko 100.000. Znači pričamo i Rusija, i Donjecka, i Luganska republika.
Laughable notion. The biggest casualties were at the very beginning of the war. The main reason for this is that some of the Russian officers have just inappropriately approached the whole affair. The casualties were pretty solid, but the notion that it's 100,000 is laughable.
Let me just make a correction for myself. Sorry, they say 100,000 dead and injured.
Hoće samo da se ispravi, rečeno ipak da si 100.000 ukupno i ranjenih i ubijenih zajedno.
Da, lako moguće, zato što ranjenih ima mnogo. Znate kako, ovdje ima, ranjeni se računaju ljudi koji su ranjeni, na primjer, iz lakog artiljerijskog oružja i koji posle 2 nedelje se vraćaju nazad, na primjer, na front. Ja sam 3 puta bio ranjen za vreme ove vojne operacije, na primjer iz mog bataljona, pola bataljona je bilo ranjeno i skoro svi su se vratili već nazad, tako da ranjenih je bilo jako mnogo.
That's quite possible. There are plenty of wounded. Around here, in the statistics of the wounded, there are people who have just been hit from a light artillery piece, and in those statistics, you have people who will return to the war front in 2 weeks. I was wounded myself 3 times, and there are plenty of people in my battalion who got wounded the same way. There was a lot of wounded that way.
Okay, so I kind of want to get into a different subject. It's not entirely different, but it still connects with your experience in your life?
So hoću da pređemo na drugu temu, nije baš mnogo potpuno drugačije, ali ima veze sa vama i sa vašim životom.
Ja sam radio operaciju na vilici, pa ako malo kočim, pa prosto mnogo me boli, teško mi je da pričam.
The surgery in my jaw, so if I stop for a little bit, that's because it's hurting me a lot.
Okay. Well, let me know if you want to stop or take a break.
Ne, sve okej. Pijem obezbolivajuće, tako da...
He's already taking something for the pain, so he's good.
Okay. When I watched the movie about you, I noticed that you were in church, so I'm going to say that you are a spiritual person.
Iz gledao film o vama, primetio sam da ste bili u crkvi, tako da ja shvatam da ste vi jedna duhovna osoba.
Da.
So how does your religious conviction influence your decision or your experience as a soldier?
Kako vaša religijska ubeđenja utiču na vaše odluke i na vaše vojničko iskustvo?
Znate kako, mnogo ima ateista dok ne odu u rat. Kad odu u rat, svi se mole.
There are plenty of atheists until they go to war. In the war, everybody prays.
Naprimjer, ja imam drugare koji su muslimani i naprimjer na Donbasu mi odemo u džamiju zajedno, pomolimo se ili smo išli u pravoslavnu crkvu ili ima katolika, tako da u ratu to nema nikakve veze, ima veze da li ti veruješ u nešto. Znači ta vera, sama vera ti pomaže da izdržiš razne probleme koji postoje, a na vojnu taktiku ona ne može da utiče, ali baš nikako.
For instance, I have some Muslim friends, and we go to mosque together, and we pray together, and then we go to a church together, and we pray together as well. There are some Roman Catholics as well. In the war, none of that matters. What matters is whether you believe in something. The faith alone helps you overcome certain adversities, but it can't influence the tactics themselves.
But how does your particular Orthodox faith influence you?
Kako konkretno vaša pravoslavna vera utiče na vas?
U pitanju rata ili života?
With regards to the war or life itself?
Life itself and fighting. Both.
I same borbe, oba.
Pa, znaš kako, u ratu ti je bitna vojna taktika, znači tu vera mnogo ne pomaže. Vera pomaže i ljudi koji se mole, verovatno da tebi ne prileti tako. Poslednji put kad sam ja bio ranjen, 7 ljudi oko mene je poginulo, mene ni jedan geler nije zacepio. Jedino je udarna volna bila takva da me kontuzilo, noge nisu radile i bilo je problema. Ali to ne može vera da utiče na vojnu taktiku. Vojna taktika to je nauka, rat je isto nauka, matematika, znači dosta je prosto. A vera to je nešto što je unutar čoveka. Ona pomaže u običnom životu, u ratu ne tako mnogo. Mada se svi molimo kad je teško.
Well, in the war, what matters are tactics. Faith doesn't help about that much. Faith helps the people that prays, and people pray so they don't get hit or something. For instance, I had this one occasion in which 7 men around me died, and I survived with only a concussion. I lost the use of my legs, but the faith cannot influence the military tactics. Military tactics are science and mathematics. Faith is something within the man, and it helps with the ordinary life. In war, not so much, although we all pray when the hard times come.
Okay. Now, in the I did a little bit of research about your life, and I read that, correct me if I'm wrong, but you were in the Yugoslav military. Is that correct?
Ja sam malo istraživao o vama i čitao sam, a ispravite me ako grešim, vi ste bili u jugoslovenskoj vojsci.
Da, ja sam poslednja generacija koja je bila jugoslovenska armija. Posle toga se Jugoslavija raspala i sad se već zaboravio, tamo 100 naziva imala naša armija, u međuvremenu 100 menjalo i armije i država.
Yes, I was the last generation of the Yugoslav army, and after that, the Yugoslavia collapsed. Now, there have been hundreds of titles for the army in the meantime, as well as state. It just keeps changing all the time.
Mm-hmm. Can you tell us about his experience in the Yugoslav military?
Možete mi reći o vašem iskustvu u jugoslovenskoj vojsci?
Šta konkretno?
Do you have anything specific in mind?
Sure, like which part of the conflict was he in? Was he in Bosnia? Was he in Kosovo? And what role did he play in the conflict?
U kom delu sukoba ste bili? Jeste li bili možda u Bosni ili Kosovu? Koja je bila vaša uloga u tim ratovima?
Ne, u građanskom ratu 90. godina Kosovo nije učestvovalo u ratu. Rat se vodio isključivo, stvari rat je počeo na teritoriji Slovenije, o tome niko ne govori, on nije počeo ni u Hrvatskoj ni u Bosni, počeo je u Sloveniji. Tako što je jugoslovenska armija i vlada Jugoslavije rešila da ne ratuje i da izvede vojnike odande. Dogovorili su se sa Slovencima da vojnici izađu bez oružja i bez tehnike i kad je Zapad vidio da će to sve da prođe bez rata, jednostavno su poslali ljude i u Dobrovoljčevskoj ulici su pobili mlade vojnike i tako je rat počeo.
During the Civil War in the 90s, Kosovo wasn't a participant or a belligerent. The war actually began on the territory of Slovenia. It wasn't in Croatia or Bosnia. It began in Slovenia in a way which, so that the Yugoslav People's Army decided not to wage war and to just pull the troops out. They had an agreement with the Slovenians to just extract, and when the West saw that it's going to all pass without a war, they sent in the volunteers, and there were Yugoslav People's Army's soldiers that got killed.
A da bi posle toga je sve krenulo u Bosni, uvek ima i ne možemo da kažem da je u ratu jedna strana sva ispravna, da je druga nepravilna, zato što na svakoj strani u ratu ima budala koje hoće da naprave nešto. Uglavnom tako ratovi počinju.
So everything continued in Bosnia, but there's always people, and we cannot say that in a war there's one side that's completely righteous and correct and the other side is all bad. There are always fools on all sides, and this is how wars begin. I
u Sarajevu, to je tako grad gde su živjeli zajedno i Hrvati, Bosnici i Srbi, jako teško je bilo započeti rat. Zatim su Englezi otpravili svoj specnaz, svoje sasovce, njihove snajperiste, čiji je zadatak bio da ubijaju civile. Uopšte im nije bilo bitno ko su ti civili, bitno je bilo da bude mnogo mrtvih sa svih strana, da bi se raširila mržnja međunacionalna, i oni su u tome uspeli.
It was harder to actually get people to start a civil war because they had Croats and Serbs and Bosnians living alongside each other. So the English have sent in the SAS with the assignment to start the war, and they've used snipers to shoot at everybody, as many civilians as possible, so that it didn't matter who they were. What mattered was to have as many casualties as possible.
Imate memoare jednog bivšeg saradnika CIA, koji je i zvanično pričao da ih je priglasio predsjednik tada Amerike i rekao nije bitno koliko treba para i šta treba da se uradi, važno je da počne građanski rat, da se Jugoslavija razvali. To sad on priča zvanično. Zaboravio sam ime njegovo.
There are memoirs of an associate of CIA who has publicly and officially told the story that he was told by the President of the United States of America that it doesn't matter how much money is being used for it and what's needed for it, that a civil war, what mattered was for a civil war to start.
Ja mogu da nađem.
I forgotten the name.
Mogu da nađem kasnije ako hoće i da mu pošaljem tačno ime i prezime i kako se zove knjiga u kojoj to opisuje.
I can find the name of the man itself, and I can just forward you the name and the book.
Okay.
I prvo moje učešće u tom ratu je bilo u borbi sa tim engleskim snajperistima.
So in that war, the participation of those English snipers was what mattered.
Is that an answer?
Yeah.
Okay. But what exactly did he? If he doesn't want to answer, then I understand. But like, what exactly did he do in Yugoslavia? What was his position?
U redu, ali šta ste konkretno vi radili u toj građanskom ratu u Jugoslaviji? Koja je bila vaša pozicija tu?
Pa mi smo u građanskom ratu ratovali. Šta možda se radi u ratu? Hrvati su ratovali za sebe, Bosanci za sebe, Srbi za sebe. Međutim, na primjer, dešavalo se da danas zajedno Hrvati i Srbi ratuju protiv Bosanaca, a sutra isti ti Hrvati koji su bili s vama u okupu, zajedno s Bosancima ratuju protiv Srba, zatim Bosanci protiv Bosanaca. Građanski rat je jako komplikovana stvar.
We were in a civil war. The Croats were waging the war for themselves, the Bosnians for themselves, the Serbs for themselves, and what happened was then there were occurrences in which Serbs and Croats fought against the Bosnians, then there were instances in which Croats and Bosnians waged against the Serbs, and then there was Bosnians against Bosnians. So it was a very messy affair.
To je izgledalo otprilike kao jedna tragikomični film, koji se naravno završio tragedijom za jako mnogo ljudi.
Tragic comedy, which ended very tragically for a lot of people.
Ja, na primjer, sada razgovaram sa ljudima koji su mi bili protivnici u tom ratu, šta više sa Hrvatima protiv kojih smo ratovali, pecali smo zajedno, išli smo na takmičenja, mnogo vremena smo posle rata provodili zajedno, jer i oni i mi shvatamo da su nas jednostavno veoma umno zavadili i niko ništa dobro nije dobio od toga.
For instance, I'm talking to people who used to be my opponents during the war. I'm talking to the very cause that I was fighting against. We went fishing together before the war, and after the war, we spent a lot of time together, and then we realized that we were basically all very, very cunningly being plotted against each other.
Can you elaborate more on that? Like how is he saying that they were duped into fighting, or?
Možete da nam objasnite malo više o tome, jel to znači da su svi bili nasamarčeni da se bore jedni protiv drugih?
Znate kako, nas Srbe su učili bratstvu i jedinstvu, a na primjer ja sam bio u Hrvatskoj sa ljudima tamo na pecanju i oni su mi pričali da su njihove dede koje su bile ustaše u Drugom svjetskom ratu, njih učile da će jedan dan da počne rat i da će Hrvatska da dobije državu. U neku ruku oni su dobitnici u tom ratu jer su dobili državu. Mi smo izgubili deo teritorije koja je vekovno bila naša. Ali teritorije bez ljudi su ništa. Ljudi su proterani i lično se nadam da tamo nikad više neće biti nikakvog rata, da su se ljudi opametili. Da, svi smo mi nasamareni. Oni shvataju da su nasamareni, mi ih shvatamo. Međutim, oni koji nisu učestvovali u ratu, oni će uvek da zagovaraju da se neki rat pokrene. Oni ne znaju koliko je to u stvari strašno.
God, brotherhood, and unity. I've been to Croatia and with people there, and we would go fishing together. And they were told by their grandparents, who were Ustaša members of the Ustaša movement, that one day they will commence a war in Yugoslavia, and then they will get the sovereign, independent Croatia. They won because they have their independent Croatia now. We won because we lost some of the territories which we Serbs have lived for centuries. But territories without people are useless. Personally, I hope that there won't be a war over there anymore, anytime. But yeah, we were all duped in a way. We were starting to get this, and even only those who haven't been in the war are keep being the warmongers, keep to their warmongering. But because they don't know how horrible it is.
Do you think that a conflict in the Balkans could happen again?
Da li mislite da je moguće da se sukob na Balkanu ponovo desi?
Zaprosto.
Izvinjam, nisam čuo.
Da, ja mislim bez ikakvih problema, zato i Kosovo nije završeno, zato su Bosnu i Hercegovinu i Republiku Srpsku napravili takvom kakva jeste, da bi mogli u slučaju potrebe da pokrenu jako brzo rat. I oni i dalje finansiraju ljude koji imaju neke takve ideje o svojoj veličini da su veći od drugih. To se uglavnom odnosi na neke nacionaliste. Znači, svaki narod treba da bude nacionalista u nekoj određenoj granici. Znači, moraš da voliš svoju državu, moraš da voliš svoj narod, međutim, kad taj nacionalizam, on često prelazi u nacizam i ljudi ne vide granicu. Dajte im malo para, nalite im malo laži uši kako su oni najstariji, najbolji, najpametniji i oni će jako brzo uđu u rat. Tako da zapadna propaganda, ko je preuzeo Gebelsa i njegovo učenje posle Drugog svjetskog rata? Preuzeli su ga zapadnjaci i oni su dobro to izučili i tim se koriste posle Drugog svjetskog rata po celom svetu. Tako da bez problema oni mogu ponovo da zapale Balkan. Nadam se da neće biti, ali lako mogu.
Yeah, without a fuss. This is why Kosovo hasn't been concluded. This is why Bosnia has been made the way it is. So that this can be instigated very quickly. They're still financing the people who have this notion of their own grandeur, and they're better than other people. And there are some nationalists, but every people should have. Every people should be nationalists to a degree. But you have to love your people and your country. But once this crosses over a certain point, there's Nazism and people not seeing any limit to this. So give them a little money, and pour some lies into their ears, and tell them that they're the oldest and the cleverest, smartest, and they will quickly go to war. This is how the Western propaganda works, and it has taken this MO from Goebbels. The Goebbels propaganda was taken over by the Westerners, and it has been used ever since the end of the Second World War. So yeah, there's no problem of instigating things again. I really hope they won't, but this is very much possible.
Na osnovu učenja engleska armija je napravila celu brigadu, 77. brigada je izučavala i oni se sada zanimaju sa time po celom svetu. Najveća komanda, znači engleske 77. brigade, nalazi se trenutno na teritoriji Ukrajine.
On this teaching, England has made the 77th Brigade. The brigade has been very much researched. The biggest team of the 77th Brigade is in Ukraine right now.
And where does this brigade come from?
Odakle dolazi ta brigada?
Iz kog grada?
Are you referring to a specific city or something?
You know, he just said that this brigade is in Ukraine now. Where does this brigade come from?
Rekao je da ta brigada treba nalazi u Ukrajini, ali odakle ona dolazi?
Ta brigada je iz Engleske, ona već funkcioniše nekih 30 godina, ali najveći deo njenih vojnika se trenutno nalazi na Ukrajini. Ona je i dalje u Engleskoj, odakle radi.
It's coming from England. It's been functioning that way for 30 years, but the brunt of their soldiers is in Ukraine right now, even though it's an English brigade.
I see. Now, if a conflict were to ever erupt again in the Balkans, where do you think it would begin?
Ako se sukob ponovo rasplamsa na Balkanu, gde misli da će početi?
Bosna i Hercegovina.
Hercegovina.
And why does he think that?
Zašto tako misli?
Pa Bosnu i Hercegovini su napravili tako i kakva jeste da bi mogli lako da započnu rat i ne dozvoljavaju, na primjer, da se bosanski zločinci za koje su zločini dokazani, da se oni strpaju u zatvore. Znači oni su na slobodi, njih finansiraju za trenutak kada će im biti potrebni, ako im budu potrebni.
Bosnia has been made the way it was so that a war can be easily restarted. They are not allowing for the Bosnian criminals whose crimes have been proven to be put in jails. They can be financed at a whim and if necessary.
Da, trenutno nemaju oni nikakve potrebe da počinju ratove zato što su preuzeli sve šta im je bilo potrebno. Znači svi rudnici, jedni od najvećih rudnika zlata nalaze se u Srbiji, oni su sada, čini mi se, u kanadskom posedu. Na Kosovu je još za vreme Tita zabranjena su bila velika rudna iskopavanja, to se sad nalazi u rukama Weslija Clarka i kompanije u kojoj je Madeleine Albright rabotala, tako da za sada sve kod njih funkcioniše. Ako pokušaju to da im oduzmu, tada će rat početi. I inače nemaju nikakvih drugih razloga za početak rata.
Presently, there's no need for them to start any wars because they've taken over everything that's necessary for them, all the mines. We have some of the biggest gold mines. Some of the biggest gold mines in Serbia are owned by Canada, by Canadians. Kosovo, in Kosovo itself, during Tito, there was a prohibition to mine certain ores and mines, and all of those are presently being owned by Madeleine Albright and Wesley Clark. So right now it's all functioning for them. Should somebody try to take those away from them, then they'll start a war.
I see. You know, of course, I hope it never happens again. Years ago, I interviewed a Serbian veteran of the war in Kosovo, and he told me that the most horrible thing that he saw were decapitated heads. And he also told me about how Albanian terrorists were kidnapping people for their organs. So I asked him what was the most horrible thing that he saw, the most horrible thing that he heard of, and this is what he told me. You know, decapitated heads and people being kidnapped for their organs. What was the most horrible thing that you saw or experienced when you were fighting in that war in the 90s in Yugoslavia, wherever it may have been?
Nikad neće ponoviti. Pre više godine intervjuisao sam srpskog veterana o ratu na Kosovu. Rekao mi da je najužasnija stvar koju je video su bile obezglavljene glave. Rekao mi kako albanski teroristi kidnapuju ljude da ih vade organe. Pitao sam ga šta je bilo najužasnija stvar i on mi je to rekao, obezglavljene glave i kidnapovanje ljudi zbog organa. Šta je najužasnija stvar koju ste vidjeli u tom ratu 90-ih kada se vodio u Jugoslaviji?
Najužasnije, znači u jednom selu u Bosni i Hercegovini, tada u Bosni tamo, srpsko selo je bilo, tamo su ljudi Nasera Orića zašli u to selo, ubili su sve civile koji su bili tamo. Bilo je dece koje su stavili u peć, pekli su ih u peći, nabili su na kolac ljude i jedno dete je bilo razapeto kao Isus Hristos na vratima Srpske pravoslavne crkve. To je mene jako teško, nešto može da potrese, ali to tamo što sam video, to je bilo nešto baš strašno.
There was a village in Bosnia and Herzegovina. There was a Serbian village over there. The men of Nasser Orić have killed the civilians that were there. There were some kids over there that were put in an oven and they were literally fried in the oven. They were put on spikes. One kid was crucified like Jesus Christ on the doors of a Serbian Orthodox church. I'm not easily rattled, but what I've seen over there was really horrible.
And he saw these things.
Ovo sve videli.
Šta?
Da li ste vi ovo sve videli, znači?
Da, mi smo prvi ušli u to selo bili.
Yes, we were the first one to enter that village.
You say that again, sir?
Yes, he was the first one to, he was in the unit that was the first to enter that village.
My God.
No Bože.
It reminds me of Ukraine with the video of the crucifixion.
Podsjeća me na Ukrajinu i na onaj snimak onog raspetog čoveka.
Vidite, ako uporedite, na primjer, Ukrajinu i Bosnu, najviše zločina je bilo u